Welcome to the Creation of Living podcast. I'm your host, Heather Nichols, and I'm delighted you're here. Join me for conversations and inspirations for creating way more in every area of your life and living. Welcome, everybody, to the Creation of Living podcast. We have a treat this week. We have Mr. Paul Kearney with us, who is the manager of the Castello di Castel Borgone in Italy, which is an incredible castle that is owned by the founders of Access Consciousness, Gary Douglas and Dane here. And also is the managing director of the European Access Consciousness Company, as well as a certified facilitator, a Joy of Business facilitator, a Being You facilitator, and really just a phenomenal gentleman that I adore. So welcome, Paul. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Heather. With a welcome like that, I hope I live up to the reputation. Yeah.
Well, you do. Yeah. And actually, we're going to talk about beauty, elegance, and living. And, this podcast being about the creation of living, which to me, it's not a grammatically correct thing, but living is this dynamic space of creation and joy and the beauty of being alive and the beauty of being on planet Earth, and includes everything, really everything that we do. And it's been so cool because I've known you for many years. I don't know how long, but I remember when you first came and you started playing with Access Consciousness, and I met you in classes and stuff, and who you were then and who you are now. You've changed so much. It's just been so cool to see what you choose every day and who you become every day, meaning more of you. And I know we've both changed a lot, and everybody tends to change a lot when they use the tools of Access Consciousness and just play with these conversations. So it's been, I don't know that I've really said that to you, but it's been such a delight to see you over the years, and just get to receive you over the years, just being so much more and choosing so much more. It's been very cool. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Heather. And likewise, because I've been following your adventures on ice, and it was because when Heather asked me to be on the podcast, the first thing that came into my mind visually was you skating, and it was like it's such a beautiful elegance that it's like just the floating on ice, that sensation of it, and just seeing the beauty of the movement. And that was the first thing that struck me. It was like, wow, what is beauty, and what a gift it can be to everybody in the world.
Wow. Thank you. Really funny little side note confession. I've been Googling ice rinks in Torino because I'm coming to the castle in a few weeks, and I'm like, I'm going to be in Europe for a little over 3 weeks. I'm like, I can't go 3 weeks without skating. So I'm going to need to find some skating while I'm there. So given that Torino was an Olympic destination for the Winter Olympics, they do have ice rinks, and I will be visiting them. So anyway, so beauty, elegance, and living. And you manage this incredible castle, which is the epitome of living. I mean, it's alive. It's its own, organism in a way. And it was, purchased years ago by Gary and Dane, and needing a lot of renovations. And it's, I got to hear the stories and see it, before it was renovated and then after. And that, to me, like the castle itself just is this incredible, like the entity of the castle is this incredible invitation to a completely different universe. of living and beauty and elegance. So I got a little preview before we started of some really epic things that you wanted to share. So I'm just gonna like turn it over to you.
Well, yeah, it's like on this journey of consciousness, it never shows up like you think it's gonna show up. So
Yeah.
initially, I had gone over to the castle for 2 weeks. I'd been at the opening, and I'd been involved in the background and setting up some of the accounting and the tax systems and stuff, but not that involved. And I remember the first time I came to the castle, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go mountain walking, and I'm going to do this thing, and I'm going to do this thing," and I had this big long list of things that I was going to do. And it was like, it was reflective of my life at that stage. It was like jam packed, but like there wasn't much silence, there wasn't much space in it. And I arrived at the castle, and I just completely crashed. And I actually, it's quite an achievement, but like I didn't actually leave the castle for 5 days. It was like I just enjoyed it so much. It was so relaxing, so beautiful, so nurturing. And that energy has just deepened, really, if I'm honest.
Mm.
It's like what Gary and Dane are looking to create, in my humble opinion, is it's like silence. And it's like it's fascinating to see. I never considered the concept that silence can actually deepen, but the castle is becoming more and more silent. And as it becomes more and more silent, the changes people have are so profound. It's so beautiful to see.
Wow. That's cool because I haven't been to the castle since right before the pandemic started. And it was very, very silent then. And, between then and now, there have been a lot of people there, so I
Yeah,
love that. It's like the
yeah.
castle's becoming more silent with all the people, and there's lots of classes happening, and that's really cool.
Yeah, it's a very alive place. It's
Yeah.
like um it it will, like, I describe it like a demanding lover. Like, it will give you all the care, all the attention, all the love you could possibly desire. But if you're doing something it doesn't like, it beats you over the head. And it was like, I Gary had warned me for years about my corporate points of view. And I was like, Gary's not really correct. I don't really have that many corporate points of view. I arrived at the castle, and the castle was like, boom, boom, boom. And it showed me a lot of things. Like, it showed me the power of silence and how rare silence is in the world now. Like, last year, this man came, and he was having a tough time during COVID, and you could see it in his face, you could see it in his demeanor. And he just came down and he sat at the table, and he just said, "Paul, this is like an oasis of peace in the middle of the madness." Because Italy, for a period of months, had a tough time during COVID, and there was a lot of deaths, there was a lot of a lot of things going on, and it was
Yeah.
tough on people. And it was like that the castle could actually be that space and just completely held him. And like, he was a different man leaving that evening than he was coming in that morning. And it's like, it's allowing that sense of silence just to work through you.
Mm, amazing. Hmm. So it's so cool. I'm like, I feel like every time we chat, we get to like the silence thing comes in, very dynamically. And I've had some really cool conversations with you about silence. Um,
Yeah. And
and
it
yeah,
and it's not something that comes particularly naturally to me in one way, because like, I'm a talkative person. I enjoy social interaction, and like, I'm beginning to see how much of that is actually personality, or how much of that is societal norms. And it's like, what if our being actually loves silence and craves silence to an extent? Yeah.
yeah. Well, and this is a very timely conversation for me too. I'm in Mexico right now. I'm here for just under 2 weeks, and we just finished Access Consciousness Certified Facilitator class here, which was a very intense class. And I've got a few days, and then we have a body whispering class coming up on Friday. And you know, there's been this, my body and my being have been asking for a lot more silence recently. And this, even like the apartment where we're staying, has this incredible silence to it. Right in Puerto Vallarta, and there's the ocean is loud and you can hear the waves all the time, which is wonderful. There's a silence to that, but it's been such a gift for me to just like every day after class, we've been, when we had class last weekend, we would come back here and open the doors and listen to the ocean and just be silent. Like one person would be napping and, we'd have these hours of silence listening to the ocean, and then the rain would start. And it's been like, it's been healing for my body in a really cool way. And then, my whole life, like just really changing a lot of stuff for me. And I would say also, like, my business has been asking for that lately. Like I just recently was like, I've got one class on the books and that's it for the moment. Like I normally have like lots and lots of classes I'm doing all the time. And it was just like, no, I'm just gonna hang out in the silence, and people don't give themselves the gift of that, and allow themselves to hang in that space where there's just this listening that can occur it can't occur otherwise.
Yeah, and how often do we really listen to people? Like a lot of the time we're waiting to respond. It's like, oh, okay, I wish this person would stop talking so I can say something. But in silence, there's space for everything. And it's like it's actually allowing that space where the person can feel cared for, they can feel held, they can feel listened to. And it's like, yeah, if you have to be intense, you have to be intense, or whatever is required in the moment. But there's space for everything in that silence.
Yeah. 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 And like when we were talking about this, well, I'm like, I think we're probably going to change the title of this podcast now, because now we're talking so much about silence. But we were talking about, before we started, beauty, elegance, and living, and there is such an elegance to silence that, so one of the definitions, if you will, of elegance that Gary Douglas gives is basically minimum effort and maximum result. Like you do as sort of as little as possible, not trying to get away with doing little as possible, but just recognizing the ease that's available if we choose it, if you're willing to be so different as to choose it, and having a lot of yield from that, and silence has an elegance to it, that is that, that like it's so full.
Yeah, and it's allowing that fullness of living to actually actualize. Like a lot of the time we're like, okay, I'm going to change something, and we plant all these seeds of change, and then the very next day we go and dig them up, did they grow? Oh, they didn't grow. Oh my God, I can't believe they didn't grow. And it's like one of the things that Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness, has been saying to me for so long is relax and receive. And I was like, I came over here very much with my own agenda of, okay, I need to make this business work. I know what business is, blah, 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 blah. Turned out it was all a big pile of bullshit, but hey, how does it get any better than that? And it was like over a year or a year and a half, like I really sank into the silence. And it's like, you start to realize how much stuff is unnecessary. And it's like, wow, televisions really aren't that necessary. Radios aren't that necessary. How much is white noise that's actually distracting us from the beauty of who we be? And it's like, we're refusing the beauty of who we be while we're running out in the world trying to find the beauty of who we be. And it's like, the irony is pretty amazing. It's like, oh my God, if I have Calvin and Klein, or if I have this, or I have that, or whatever it is, whatever's the brand that's going to make you beautiful, like, rather than it actually being, wow, what if you were just being you and you're completely changing the world by your very presence?
Yeah. And yeah. It's funny to talk about silence, right? You're like,
Yeah.
well, let's just shut up.
It's a space that can be enjoyed, and like it's a very full space and a very beautiful space.
Yeah. Yeah. And it does really require, I mean, it requires a very different choice, to be, I mean, look at what you were saying about the noise of, whether it's television or radio or social media, all the noses and phones in the world, I've been looking at that a lot lately, like how much I just, pick up my phone to kind of distract me or whatever, and it's like, what if I was just actually having a conversation with a friend this morning, and she was saying that Ed Sheeran, the musician, doesn't have a phone. Like he just doesn't have a phone, It's not even like not using it. It's like he just doesn't. And it's sort of, you look at that and you go, well, how do you, because like, how do you get a hold of him? It's like,
Yeah.
And I was saying, well, that's funny because I lived, maybe 37, 38 years without a phone before phones, iPhones really came on the scene. Like, and, we think, well, what would I do without it? I couldn't live without it. Well, most adults have lived most of their lives without a phone, depending on when you were born. But, so, we go into that world because we're looking for something, we think we need to find something there. And like you said, that's sort of like going out into the world, whether it's in the world or in the electronic world, looking for what you would actually find if you just sat right here, and the choice for that is a really, like, I notice when I kind of unplug more, it's like there's that energy of like, oh, am I missing something? Or, and yet what my body and my business and my being have asked me for very dynamically lately is like, shut up and stare at the ceiling for a little bit,
Yeah,
And if you're in the castle, staring at the ceiling is a phenomenal thing. I mean, there's some really epic ceilings in the castle.
There's beautiful ornate ceilings, like hand painted, and just incredible designs. Like,
Yeah.
I think nobody does beauty like the Italians. Like the Italians are just like, here's the level, and now we're going to go 10 times above it, and then we're going to go 100 times above that. It's like they just do beauty at a whole different level. And it is, yeah, it's been a journey for me. Like I spent a lot of the last year and a half by myself, because it was like came to the castle, it was full on, and next thing COVID, and we stayed open for most of it, which was actually brilliant, and we grew through it. But it was now I'm actually very grateful for this podcast. I was resisting a lot of me, and it was like there's a lot of silence in my being, and like if I'm willing to actually engage with that, because so often we're rushing to be connected to the Wi-Fi, be connected to the TV, be connected to the news, be connected to these things that a lot of the time they become unnecessary. And like when you unplug from them, it's like, wow, that disconnection is actually a treat. And it's like we allow the space of creation because we're working from silence.
Boom. Yeah. Wow. Allow the space of creation because you're working from silence. I love that. Yeah. Well, I think we'll leave it there.
The next 20 minutes can just be complete silence, and everyone can just listen and enjoy. Yeah, enjoy.
Just go stare at the ceiling, even if you're not in the castle.
Yeah.
Have a little date with the ceiling or the sky.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like just spend time in nature. It's like just enjoy the beauty.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Paul. I'm so grateful for you.
Thank you. You too, Heather. So grateful.
Yeah, I am so looking forward to being there in a few weeks. Can't wait.
It'll be awesome. Yeah, I can't wait. Wait.
Awesome. All right. Thanks everybody for being here, and enjoy you. Enjoy the silence. Enjoy the possibilities of it and the beauty of it more than you think you can. See you next time. Thank you for joining me for the Creation of Living podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it and leave me a review. If you would like more, you can find all kinds of resources and upcoming events at heathernichols.com. Until next time, remember, my beautiful friends, the world thrives when you do.